Approximately 20 minutes of questions. I can't imagine a richer and more wide-ranging exposition of the current legal crisis. So please try, and to keep the questions moving, please try to make them as succinct and as pointed as possible. Is somebody, okay, we won't have a microphone for anything, no? Okay. Please stand up when you ask your question. If everyone can stand up. Yes.
Could you critique gay marriage?
With respect to natural law thinking, it sounds like you would say that passions are eclipsing reason. You would say that will is eclipsing reason. How could society get it so wrong? How could they, so many smart people, think this is a good thing?
Andrea?
This is your...
Yeah, it's what everybody wants to talk about. No matter what, you know, you get.
I don't want to be misunderstood. It's good for you to start on this.
I've written a very, all I can say is I've written a very lengthy article with two of my former students called What is Marriage? That's the real question, and that's the question that people seem to just want to avoid. But there's absolutely, at the end of the day, no avoiding that question. There are competing understandings of marriage. They have to be articulated. If we're to have a serious, coherent, meaningful, responsible debate, the competing conceptions are going to have to be articulated, considered thoughtfully, debated civilly, and then we resolve the question the way we resolve disputed questions among reasonable people of goodwill in societies like ours. We use the democratic process. What is Marriage was published in 2010 in the Harvard Journal of Law and Public Policy. It generated a number of responses by people who propose the redefinition of marriage and offered criticisms of our view in favor of the conjugal, the historic conjugal conception of marriage as the union of husband and wife. The competing conceptions raise very deep issues, going all the way down to the question of what does it mean to be a human being. I could predict with 95% certainty what your position is on the question of which understanding of marriage is correct if I knew only one thing about your beliefs, whether this belief was expressed or implied, if you held it implicitly or held it self-consciously. And that is the question whether you believe that a person, a human person, is a non-bodily substance that inhabits or is associated with or uses a non-personal body. That is, whether you are a consciousness, a center of emotion, which is the real person, and the body is an extrinsic instrument of the person that serves the interests of the person by making possible certain activities and satisfactions. If I knew that was your view, I'd predict you coming out one way on the question of marriage and the nature of marriages between the competing points of view. If I knew that you rejected that kind of person-body dualism and saw the body as part of the personal reality of the human being being a dynamic unity of body, mind, and spirit, so that what a human person is a living member of the species Homo sapiens, a human being, you're going to come out, I would predict with 95% certainty, you're going to come out the other way. Now, I could also predict some other things about you. I could predict what your position is likely to be, and what it should be, actually, on the question of abortion, or on the question of euthanasia. I can tell a whole lot about where you're going to end up on the basis of that question. But how often have you heard that question about what a person is debated in the debate about marriage, or for that matter in the debate about abortion, although there at least it sometimes does get engaged. Everybody agrees that marriage, whatever it is the union of persons. Whether it's a man and a woman, two men, two women, three or more persons in a triad, four persons in a quadrat. Everyone agrees that it's a union of persons. But we don't agree on what a person is. So we can't tell what kind of union it is. if persons are centers of consciousness and emotion, if the dualistic understanding of the person is true, or some related view, like Parfit's view, is true, then marriage is fundamentally an emotional union. And if marriage is fundamentally an emotional union, and in no sense a bodily union because the body's not part of the personal reality of the human being, if marriage is an emotional union, then there really is no reason in principle why two men can't be in an emotional union, be in a marriage with two women. But by the same token, there's absolutely no reason why 3 or 4 persons united in a polyamorous sexual partnership couldn't be in a marriage. If, on the other hand, marriage is a bodily union because the person is the body and doesn't merely inhabit it, the body's not merely an extrinsic instrument of the person, but part of the personal reality of the human being, then what you'll pretty quickly find vindicated is the view of marriage we find in the Bible, we find in the teachings of Plato, we find in Plutarch, we find in Roman thinkers like Musonius, what's sometimes called the one flesh communion, or one flesh union view of marriage. The idea that marriage, while a multi-level partnership in which people share lives, spouses share lives at the emotional, the dispositional, the rational, the volitional, even the spiritual level, is founded on bodily union, which is a genuine personal union, again, precisely because the body is not a mere extrinsic instrument of the human person, but is part of the personal reality of the human being. So the waters are very deep. It's very easy to see how, whichever side you're on, how the other side could be mistaken, because it's pretty easy to see how you can fall into an error one way or another, I think from anybody's point of view, which is why we really need to be civil and humble with each other in debating this issue. But at the end of the day, everything turns on it. And it's profoundly important because of the social fact that marriages, unlike baptisms and bar mitzvahs and things like that, are inherently public institutions, public realities, public matters, because marriage is the fundamental unit of society, and it's the uniquely apt, creates the uniquely apt circumstances for the rearing of children. Well, I've already gotten too heavy and too deep and gone on too long, but it shows you, just to answer your question, even approach your question, shows you how deep into the weeds we have to go. And in order to defend any sentence that I've just spoken, I would have to provide several paragraphs of commentary.
We'll go to that question next, but Andrea would like to just
Only
add to that.
a brief, very brief remark, because Professor George gave the, let's say, the ontological answer to your question. I would like only to add a point. That according to your question, it's useful to understand a sort of big trend that we can see in modern legal systems. That is the changing of our idea of equality. Well, until a certain period, we all thought, I was taught in university, that the principle of equality means that you have to treat in the same way alike things, same things, and you have to treat in a different way different things. If you treat in the same way different things, or if you treat in a different way same things, this is a breach in the principle of equality. This is changing. Well, this is somehow the basis on which all our legal culture was founded from the French Revolution on. Today we are facing a big transformation in this. That, as a matter of fact, I remember when I was young that the fight through the law was to make the difference relevant. So I want to be different. This was the slogan of a lot of cultural movements, minority movements, also gay rights movements and so on. I want to be different. I don't want to be homologated to other kind of things. But it's interesting to see that today is dramatically changing this, because today it's with this principle of non-discrimination that is not the same principle of equality. Today is very, very difficult to treat to make any kind of differentiation through law. So the real problem is, can the law, the state, the legal system make any kind of differentiation at all? Because this is a serious problem, because everyone can consider himself not exactly the same of other, so can claim to have the same treatment if he personally considers this. So this only to say that I'm perfectly aware that the idea of family, the idea of personal relations changed tremendously during the last years. And so that today we are in front of many different kind of social relationships. The problem is, are we obliged to give to all the same pay attention, not moral? Because law doesn't coincide with the moral judgment on this. But can we, on a social point of view, consider all these kind of behaviors all equal and all to treat all in the same way? For example, the marriage, as we had as a legal structure from the Roman law, is made by rights, duties, and the interrelation between which. So, can we consider this kind of legal instrument apt to describe such different things? Probably we need to invent something